When a central bank fixes the value of its domestic currency to a foreign currency, what we call a fixed exchange rate regime, it loses control of the domestic money supply. More precisely, it's chosen to control the exchange rate and let the money supply be whatever it needs to be in order to make that fixed exchange rate regime work. As a quick example, the current price on the internet of a 2020 Audi R8 car is about $170,000. Now, if I were going to fix the price of that car and say fix the price of dollars in terms of that car at 10,000 US dollars per one Audi, what would have to happen? What would I have to do? How would I do that? So I'd put a sign out, and it'd be public. In order to really fix the price of the car, it has to be accessible to everyone in the world at any time. What would immediately happen? Well, obviously, if I really did that, a $170,000 car for $10,000, everyone in the world would want to buy this thing, right? Fundamentally, I'd be doing this. Here's the price, 170K, and I'd be sitting it down here. So the quantity demanded would be insane, and the quantity supplied would be very low at that price, technically zero probably, except for me. So everybody here would come and try and buy up those cars from me. Why? Assuming it's the real car and I can issue the same warranties that the Audi dealer can, then you could come buy it for me from $10,000. Nobody would end up selling it for $170,000, except to me. I would probably buy them all up, because you could always come get it from me. Also, no one would try and sell it from, you couldn't buy it from me and then sell it for double its price, because nobody out there would buy it. They could always come to me and buy it. To make it work, I would have to have an infinite supply of Audi R8s. I mean, I'd have to have a giant stock. Maybe not infinite, but it'd be a lot. As long as I had a totally infinite stock of these cars, I could buy and sell them all day long and maintain the price of $10,000. But I would completely lose control of that domestic stock of cars. Now, if I set the price up here and fixed it at, say, $150, I would quickly find that I have a bunch of people who show up trying to buy the car. I would sell out some, but then I would maintain my stock for a while. If I set the price right around here, then as demand for these things fluctuates a little bit, sometimes I would buy cars and sometimes I would sell cars, okay? But either way, if you think about it, and take the extreme case where I fixed the price at $10,000, I would have to have a giant stock of cars. Central banks have to do the same thing. Central banks have to have a giant stock of foreign currency, which we call international reserves. If the U.S. Central Bank decided to fix the U.S. dollar, we have to say, what did it fix it to? And in the last case, we fixed the U.S. dollar, 10,000 of them, to one Audi. Here we fix $1 US to €1. That would imply a 1-to-1 exchange rate, and we would fix the exchange rate at that. To make that work, the U.S. would have to have a large stock of euros, and it would always have to be willing to buy and sell. To do that, literally, the central bank opens up an exchange window with a little sign, if you imagine it, saying, we will buy and sell as many euros as you want, 1 for 1 with the dollar at any time. That window has to be accessible globally 24/7 for that price to really maintain fix. So what happens? Well, here's your FOREX market in terms of currencies. The value, if E is fixed, the value is fixed, and so the central bank is trying to maintain that. Consider the first case where, let's say, people try to buy extra US dollars. This would push the value up. The central bank won't allow that. And so it must increase the supply of dollars. This is an increase in the US money supply until the exchange rate returns to its fixed level. How does this happen in the international foreign exchange market? We saw with international open market operations that the central bank, in order to increase the money supply, must put dollars there, which means it must buy euros. So in this case, it would increase the money supply, and this would also increase reserves. Suppose we have instead a decrease. The currency value would want to fall. Our central bank cannot allow that. It can't control demand, but it can control the amount of dollars in the market. And so our central bank must decrease the money supply. We know in the open market operation, it must pull money out of the system in order to generate this, and it sells euros, which decreases. That's euros. Sorry, those are reserves. Okay? So we lose reserves. This happens automatically. Think of the central bank just posting this on a website and setting up an algorithm and a bank account that any trade can happen at any time. So as demand fluctuates around here, the central bank is constantly changing, increasing, and decreasing the money supply. So you would see in this case, if this happened first and then this happened 10 minutes later, you would see reserves do this as they fluctuate, and you would also see the money supply doing exactly the same. So this is the case where the central bank fixes the exchange rate and as a result gives up, surrenders, or loses control of its domestic money supply. As one final note, we say they're buying and selling currency, but in reality they usually are buying and selling foreign currency denominated bonds and other bonds, or currency itself. They can buy both, and you often do.